Hmm. Yeah. Returning to the,
Harold, where are we holding, Harold?
hi, Marion.
Hi, where are we holding?
Where are we holding? I don't know.
I just opened it up over here, I think on page.
Yeah, we're in, page 85. 84.
Oh, you guys didn't finish it, chapter 8?
What's that? I don't know. Where were we last week?
No, he wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't there, right?
Yeah, it's
He-
like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's what I have marked. You'll know exactly.
I mean, we did head.
You'll know
we
to the
started
word.
with head.
Hi, are we, hi?
Hi,
Mark,
hi.
Oh, hi,
Hey.
Barbara.
how are you doing? Are we on,
Good.
we finished Zion? We're on Ches?
I don't know.
I mean, I know that we started with head. Barbara,
Yes.
you were at the wedding in New York also? Were you at the
Yeah.
wedding?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. Terrible, huh?
Isn't it beyond,
Yeah,
beyond?
we don't even know who got married, whose daughter or son got married.
So we're Dovey, you know Dovey, do you know his children? Do you know?
Yeah, sure.
I know Dobie,
Yeah.
the one that lives on Hudson.
Right, right. So Dovey's daughter got married.
Got it, okay, wasn't sure. Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
So apparently the Bowens must have been there as well.
Yes, yes, of course, yes. The Baumans were there. Judy was there. Yeah. Devora Bauman, Devora Zach's parents,
Oh.
they were there. They came in from Israel. Yeah, people
But
came in.
at that time, at that wedding, I mean, he was in the hospital already.
He was in the hospital. He was alive. He
Yeah.
was alive. It was only on Wednesday morning, after the wedding, post-wedding, found out that he had passed away.
Crazy, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Esty, hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Welcome.
Susie, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
We have the Navi. What else one?
How was Greece?
It was amazing. It was really fantastic. There's so much history, and then there's
Yeah.
Jewish history, and then there's so much Holocaust history that we never
Wow.
realized how much Holocaust history there is. It's
Wow.
unbelievable. I think 90% of the Jews in Greece were exterminated. Were
It's
sent.
crazy. I mean, I read a book about Rhodes, the Jewry in Rhodes. I mean, they took everybody from Rhodes. I mean,
They
that's
took
a far
everybody.
away.
There were
I mean, they
55,000,
wasted
yeah.
so much money taking those few Jews and take them to the
I
extermination.
know, I know. They went from town to town, 55,000 Jews in like Salonika.
I know, it's nuts.
Crazy.
Doesn't make sense.
I know.
Whoever hasn't seen the exhibition at the Reagan Museum, you should go. It's going on now. They extended it till January. It's really
Oh,
worthwhile.
did they?
Oh,
Esty,
good.
you told me. Oh, so they extended it?
Yeah, it's worthwhile.
How is it, what do they focus, how is it different from, let's say, Yad
I don't
Vashem?
know. It's just very informative the way it's done. The pre-war, during the war. It's also very graphic. It gives you a lot of facts and numbers. I mean, it's very
I heard that a lot of non-Jewish people there go.
yeah.
Not just
Yeah.
Jewish people, a lot of
No,
non-Jews.
a lot of
Very-
non-Jews were there. I would say
very good.
90%.
Which is important, very
Huh?
important.
And then
Very
they
Very
had
important that they
videos of the
go.
people talking. It's very interesting. I mean, I thought it was very sad and sobering, but it was very well done. It comes
Good.
out of Washington, this exhibition.
Oh,
Right.
it's from the Holocaust Museum of Washington?
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
that's supposed to be very good.
Yeah.
Esty, didn't you say that what percentage of children were killed in the Holocaust?
As it said, 90% of European Jewish children were exterminated in the Holocaust. That's an unbelievable figure.
So very few did go on the kinder transport. Very few,
What? Yeah,
very few children were on the kinder transport,
yeah,
percentage wise.
right. No, it gives you all the graphs. It's just a very interesting, well done. I don't know. Unless you plan on getting to Poland, I don't know.
Okay,
There's Johnny. Hi, Johnny.
hi, Johnny. We are,
Hello.
we are in Melachim Aleph, Perek Ches, Pasuk Ches.
Yes.
Yeah, the eighth pasuk, Pasuk Ches. They brought we talked about the Kohanim bringing the Aron HaKodesh into the Kodesh Kadoshim under the Kruvim. Now, the Aron had rings, and through the rings were staves, sticks that were placed through the Aron, and that's the Levium and the Kohanim would carry.
Yeah? Yeah. For a guy? What you have?
Johnny, you have to.
That's the mute.
Johnny, mute, please.
That's the mute.
So there were sticks going through the Aron, and that's how they would carry the Aron. And when they placed the Aron in the Kodesh Kadoshim, the sticks remained in the rings. And it says, Vayrichu abadim, Vayareu roshei abadim in HaKodesh al pnei advir. You could see the indentation of these sticks pushing on the paroches. As the Gemara will explain, Lo yirau achutza, you couldn't see the sticks, but you could see the indentation. And then a peculiar statement, Vayusham ad hayom hazeh. And they are there even till today. So somebody who was standing in the Heichal looking towards the Kodesh Kodashim, and there's a paroches a curtain that divides between the two, you would see the sticks sticking out, like making an indent. Rashi says, look at Rashi. This is the curtain in the Amma that divided between
Eli, can you lower it a little bit, please?
Yachol Yumakarin Bav Yotzi. So they were long enough that they could stick out. Tamad Loma V'lo Yira'u. You couldn't see them. Haketzad. Docha kinu boltim kimin shnei dade isha. Like two breasts of a woman where you see an indentation. Ki inyan shenamar, like it says in Shir Hashirim, Bein Shada Yalin. It's a metaphor that the Aron sort of rests between the two breasts, which here it really refers to the sticks that are holding up the Aron. The Aron wasn't placed in the middle of the room. It was placed closer towards the Heichal in order for this phenomenon to occur with the sticks. And if you calculate, the Gemara in Menachos Tzadik Ches says, "Ma'asanei saya, the Aron be'emsa kodesh kadoshim, haya." The Aron was sitting in the middle of the Kodesh Kadoshim. Ulachol tzad haya eser amos. On either side was eser amos. Well, the whole Kodesh Kadoshim was 20 by 20. So Makam Aron Eina Min Amida. The Aron was not measured. Just like there were many aspects of the Luchos that it stood benes. So the Aron itself stood benes. There's a Medrash and Medrash Rabbah on the Pasuk in Shir Hashirim that says, Hinei mitato sheli Shlomo. This is the bed of Shlomo Melech. Ma mita ena ela pri revia. What is a bed? That's how we have future children. Kach Beit HaMikdash kol ma shaya betoch haya pri urevei. Means things grew in the Beis HaMikdash. Like when Klal Yisrael stood there, there was enough space for them, even though it's a massive number of people, small number of area in the Beis HaMikdash, but it had the ability to grow to fit what was needed. The Ralbag says that these badim, these sticks that held the Aron, were not the same one that Moshe made. They made them longer in order to create this imagery of these sticks sticking out. So it's also clear that there wasn't a wall, but rather a curtain, because this effect could only be seen with a curtain. Even though at one point in the building of the Beis Hamikdash it said there was a door. So the Rambam says, "B'mikdash rishon lo ha'is Hashem ela parochas achas bilvad." Just the parochas. That's why we have parochas is by our Aron HaKodesh. In fact, there's a Gemara in Yuma Nud Dalid, Amrav Katina, B'shasha Yisrael Oilin L'Regel. When Klal Yisrael came to Yerushalayim 3 times on Yontif, Megal Lemes HaParoches. They would open up the curtain. Umarin Lemes HaKruvim Shayim Urim Zebezeh. They would show the Kruvim, the 2 infants that they were hugging each other, to say, Ru'uchi Badchem L'fnei HaMokom Kechiba Zoker Nekeva. Look at how Klal Yisrael is loved by Kodesh Baruch Hu, the way a husband loves his wife. Some say that in the Mishkan, this thing with the body didn't exist. Some say it did exist. Now, what do we mean when it says Vayisham Ada Yom Hazeh, that they were here until today? Now, we learned already when we started Melachim, who wrote Melachim? Yirmiyah Navi. He lived until after the Churban Beis Hamikdash. So we could say that the Aron stood in its place until Yirmiyah wrote Sefer Melachim. Because at that point we said Yoshio HaMelech, prior to the destruction of the temple, hid the Aron. You know, not everybody holds that way. There's a Gemara in Yuma, Nun Gimel Amud Beis. Rav Eliezer Omer Aron Galil Bavel. There's an opinion that the Aron went to Bavel, like it says in Divrei Yomim. U'letruvat Hashana Shalach HaMelech Nebuchadnezzar Vayivieu Bavela. The Aron was brought to Bavel in Klechendas Beis Hashem. Rabbi Shimon Ben Yochai says Aron Galil Bavel. But Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Aron bimkomo nignaz. The Aron was buried where it was. That Shlomo Melech hechin makom tachas kodesh kadoshim shesham yignaz Aron la'asi. Shlomo Melech already prepared a secret passageway that when the Beis Hamikdash would be destroyed, the Aron would go there. And that's what it means in this pasuk. Vayisham Ada Yom Hazeh means it's there now. That's what it means. It's still there. Very interesting question that the Chassam Sofer deals with. We make a Birchas Hachama once every 28 years. That every 28 years the sun goes back to its location where it was when the world was created. We make a special bracha. Those of us here in Los Angeles remember us doing that at Griffith Park a few years ago. Now, what if you can't see the sun because it's cloudy? So the Chassam Sofer says, if you can see sort of evidence of it even between the clouds, you can make a bracha. If it's not seen at all, you don't make a bracha. It's the same din by Kiddush Levana, when the men, right after Rosh Chodesh, bench Kiddush Levana in Shul Motzei Shabbos. And if you can't see the moon, you don't make the bracha. The Das Torah says, from our Gemara in Menachos, the after abadim ayimachusim v'parochas, you didn't see the sticks through the curtain. You just saw evidence of them. You can see them. So same thing, if you can see where the Levana is through the clouds, according to that shita, you would make the bracha. Now this machlokes of whether or not the Aron was taken to Bavel or left in place, I'm going to read what the Musar Nevi'im has to say. Be'emet b'machlokes hazot tmuna od machloket achat sheshar rabbein hachacham. They had another machlokes. Ki achrei churban habayis kishiyad roim yisat kifa Yisrael. Azvu harbe mituve Yisrael eretz Yisrael veitikus Moshe Hashem lebavel. After the Roman exile, many Jews moved to Babylonia. V'harbe mechach Yisrael lo isa daitam noicha me'ela she'azvu sartzena k'dosha. Some of the Chachamim were upset that people left Eretz Yisrael, like it says in Ksubis, Kuf Yud Amud Beis, Kol Adar b'chutz l'Eretz doime k'mishu ovid akum. Whoever lives in Chutz La'aretz, it's like you worship Avodah Zarah. Aval yesh me'em she'amru she'ein leBavel din Chutz La'aretz. Bavel was considered like Eretz Yisrael. Like it says in Ksubis Kufyu Menal, Armavido Kol Adar Bavel, Kilu Dar Eretz Yisrael. That someone who lived in Bavel is like you're living in Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar Avit Sion Imalte Yosheves Bas Bavel. It was also brought in that Gemara. Kol Oila Mi Bavel Eretz Yisrael Oiver Basei. You were not allowed to leave Bavel to go to Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar, it says in Yirmiyah Chav Zayin, Bavela Yuvlu v'Shama Yiyu Ada Yom Puk Diaskenu Hashem. You have to stay in Babylonia until Mashiach comes. Ki Amru Sheyesh Eze Kedusha Gam BeBavel. Ki Avram Avinu Harei Bam MiBavel. Avram came from Bavel. So we see the same machlokes. Was the Aron taken to Bavel or not? Those that said that the Aron went to Bavel, because they had a concept that it's a Malkam Torah in Bavel as well. And the Aron went there too. Those that held that the Aron was buried in Eretz Yisrael, that the Iker Malkam Torah is still in Eretz Yisrael. Now, one more Musar Nevi'im that's important. This concept that you could see the sticks of the Aron, but you couldn't really see them. You only could see them as an indent in the curtain. What is the metaphor that that's supposed to show us? Right? That Sharoshe Abadim Ayuboltim V'Dochnim B'Parochas V'Atam B'Zenira Loimar Shezo B'Chtei Sheyadu HaKohanim Aboim L'Eichol Ki Yesh Torah B'Yisrael. You couldn't help but notice if you were a Kohen and you walked into the Eichel, you could see the sticks sticking out. That was supposed to remind them of Torah because the sticks are connected to the Aron. Uvazeh yesh hora'ah. Ki eina makom rotzeh shetiyah Torah tmuna ugnuz rak b'kodesh kadoshim bilvad. Jewish religion is not to bury the Torah in the Kodesh Kadoshim so nobody has access to it. It's only seen one time a year when the Kohen Gadol goes on Yom Kippur. The effect of Torah has to be seen day to day. Right? We know many American practice was you came to shul once a year in Yom Kippur. That's not. Torah has to affect the person's life every day. What were the badim meant for? To carry the Aron. It's an adjunct to the Aron. You need to make the Torah easy to learn. You have to formulate Torah in a way that it's easy to pass from hand to hand. Just like the Aron was carried by hand. The imagery is that Torah has to be made easy so it can be given from hand to hand. Like it says in the Gemara Erev and Chaf Aleph. In Kohelet, it says Shlomo Melech Izein v'chiker tikein mishalim arbei. Shlomo Melech made a lot of parables. Amr Ula, Amr Rav Lozer. B'tchila hayta Torah dome lekfifa she'ein lo oznayim. The Torah was like a bowl without a handle. Ad shebot shloim v'aslo oznayim. Hainu. Shayidei HaMoshel. By giving a parable. Efshar l'misras haTorah l'kol echad min ha'am. You can reduce complicated issues to very simple parables. Avalator beli mashlim, havikfifa shein laznaim. The Torah without all these vehicles to make it easier to learn is like a ball without a handle. She'i efsar lemoisra miyad liyad. Ulefichach, habadim leha'aron, she'ema kemo aznaim lekfifa. These sticks were like the handle. Hayumar mishmutal aleinu tamid, lahafitz et haTorah betoch kol shidrot ha'am, bichdei shitil nachlas hatzibur. He actually uses the word network. We have to make sure that the Torah can be spread by Zoom, by internet, by any network vehicle, as opposed to running away from technology. Here, the concept is we're supposed to use technology to spread Torah from hand to hand. That's I think, a very strong remez in this pasuk. Pasuk Tes. What is in the Aron? Ein ba'aron rak shnei luchos avani. The two luchos, asher hiniach sham Moshe b'chorev. Moshe placed the luchos in Chorev in the Aron. Asher koras Hashem ibn Yisrael b'tzisam eretz Mitzrayim. Say the Meforshim. Why did they build the Beis Hamikdash? So that the Shechina would dwell there. The Beis Hamikdash is the connecting point between Klal Yisrael and their Father in heaven. How does that happen? Lo baza ela ayidei Torah. It's through the vehicle of Torah. Lachen hidgisha katuv de lo haya shum davar ba'arn al haluchos. Shebasra dibros aksuvus aleim nichlelas kol haTorah kula. All Taryag mitzvahs can be put under a heading of one of the Aseret Dibros. Says Rashi there in Parshas Yisro, Es luchosa even v'Torah v'mitzvah shekosafti lo rosam kol sheish mos shloshes mitzvos b'klal Aseret Dibros. All Taryag mitzvahs are in the Aseret Dibros. The Radak points out, Ki lo haya ba'aron lo shivrei luchos. The broken pieces were not there. V'lo sefer Torah. Nira kiz natnu b'ashus beis Hashem mo'amoed v'makeli. The Aron that had the sefer Torah was placed with the keli. Now, Chazal tell us, though, that there were other things in the Aron besides the luchos. Baba Basra, Yudalid Amid Aleph. It says, Ein, what does our pasuk says? There's a miut achar miut. There is not, right? Ein ba'aron rak. Well, that's a miut achar miut. Havi miut achar miut, ve'ein miut achar miut el larabos. It comes to add something. What is being added? So Rab Meir Omer, the Sefer Torah Yamunach Sham ba'aron im haluchos. Besides the luchos, the second luchos that Moshe came down on Yom Kippur with, there was a complete Sefer Torah. Rav Yudah says the Shivrei Luchos, the broken pieces, were there as well. So the Ramban in Sefer Dvorim comments that according to Rabbi Yehuda, the broken pieces were there. And that's like the Manda Omer that says there was only one Aron. There is a Manda Omer that says there were two Aronas. Shivrei Luchos hayu munachim ba'aron hasheni. That when they took out an Aron to go do war, they took the luchos, the broken luchos, and placed it in a separate aron. So there were two aronas. That the Bavli seems to suggest there was only one, but the various Midrashim and Yerushalmi says there were two. Now Rashi holds that there were two aronas. One for the broken luchos, and they would take them out to battle. And it's not a contradiction to Baba Basra. The luchos and the broken luchos were in the same aron that B'Tzalel made. And it was in the Beis Olamim, the Beis Hamikdash, until forever. They never took the aron with the Shivrei luchos to battle. So they put the broken pieces in the aron of B'Tzalel with the regular luach. Now, why were the broken pieces placed with the luach, with the regular luchos? So the Meshech Chochma has an approach. The first set of luchos was Ma'aseh Elokim Hema. Both the writing and the letters and the stone were supernatural. That's why when you had a Mem Sofit in the Luach, it was engraved through and through, but the Mem Sofit therefore had a square around it. How come that piece didn't fall? So it was B'nai Saya Oime. So that proves that it was a Ma'aseh Elokim. Now, those luchos had the supreme kedusha. Later on, Moshe Rabbeinu was told, Psalacha, you make a new luch. There, the same letters that flew up to heaven, which made the first luchos heavy, so Moshe had to drop it. Those letters came flying back down and went into the new luach that Moshe cut out of the rock. But we're always trying to get back to the kedusha of the first, because they were, when the Chazal tell us that when the first luchos were given, everybody was healed of their illnesses. Everybody lived forever. We would have been immortal. That was the koach of the luchos rishonos. The luchos shnios, we came back to earth. We're mere mortals. But we leave the shivrei luchos in the aron as a symbol what we're trying to aspire to. There's also a very poignant metaphor brought in Menachos Tzadik Tes Amud Aleph. Melamed shaluchos v'shivei luchos menachim ba'aron mikan l'tamid chacham sheshachach talmuda machmas oinsoy she'ein noagin bo minhag bizoyon. We know many Gedolei Yisrael, when they got older, some got a stroke, some got Parkinson's, they couldn't talk anymore, they forgot their learning. It doesn't make a difference. We're supposed to treat them with the utmost kavod. Just like the broken luchos are placed in the aron with the real luchos, so a broken Talmud Chacham is supposed to be treated with the utmost dignity. The Noda B'Yehuda learns that Sefer Torahs that are puzzle, you're allowed to keep them in the same aron, even with kosher Sefer Torah. He brings a raya that the Shivrei Luchos, the broken Luchos, were also kept in the same aron. Pasuk Yud. Is that small? Thank you. 1 second, I just want to wait for Susie to come back. Any comments?
Oh,
Okay. Thank you. Pasuk Yud. Vayibitzeit HaKohanim in HaKodesh. The Kohanim had brought the Aron HaKodesh into the Kodesh Kadoshim. As they went out, Ha'anan Malay et Beit Hashem. A cloud descended into the Beit HaMikdash as a symbol that the holiness of the Beit HaMikdash now is in place. This is the Shechina. It's the first time that this is called the Beis Hashem, because the Shechina is already there. And it's like a cloud, like an Anan Va'arafel. It's dark and cloudy. It's very similar to what was said about the Mishkan, where it says, Vayichas ha'anan et ol moed, uchvod Hashem aleis ha'mishkan. When the Mishkan was finished, the same phenomena occurred. The Shechina came down, the cloud covered the Ohel from outside and inside, and there was a bright light on the inside. The difference here in the Beit HaMikdash is the cloud and the light were both inside. What's the difference? The Shechina with the Mishkan was not a set place. It was moving around. The Mishkan moved to 42 places in the desert. But here, this is finally the final resting place. In the Mishkan, they first put the Aron first and then the Kelim. Here, all the Kelim were put in, and then the Aron's the last thing to put in. And immediately after that came the Shechina. Now, because of this great cloud and holiness, Pasuk Yud Aleph, Lo yachlu HaKohanim lamod l'shareis v'nei Hanan. The Kohanim could not withstand it. Ki malei kvod Hashem es Beis Hashem. The glory of God was filling the Beis Hashem. They couldn't see. It was dark. Now, some of you may be asking, what does it mean that Hashem's Shechina is particularly in the Beis Hamikdash? Don't we say, Kivodom Malei Olam, Malog Kol Haaretz Kvodo? Hashem is everywhere in the universe. So what are we seeing differently? Why does it point out here that the Shechina seems to have a stronger location, so much so that the Kohanim had to leave the Beis Hamikdash? So Rav Shimon Schwab, the head of the Yekish community in Washington Heights, explained it with the following parable. A radio, when you turn on the radio, well, there's voice comes out of the radio box. You can lower the volume, you don't hear anything. How does this work? You have radio waves. We can't see the radio waves. They're not seen, they're not heard. When you open up the radio antenna receives the waves, and then there's an amplifier so we can hear it. So says Rav Schwab, even though Kodesh is different than Chol, we might be able to understand. This is how he says it. The Shechina is b'chol makom ba'olam. Hashem Shechina is everywhere. Ach eino nirgash lanu. We don't have the antenna to pick him up. Af shehi mamish etzleinu uvetochenu. The Shechina is around us. Ein lanu akelim lavchin ma'uto. We don't have the instruments to assess if the Shechina is here. Shashchina eina davar gashmi. The Shechina is a spiritual thing, not a physical thing. Ach, lefamim nosein lanu HaKadosh Baruch Hu hechitim lagish ktsat et Shechina al yedei dvarim gashmi. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu sort of gives us a sign in a davar gashmi to show us where the Shechina is. That's this cloud of glory that is mentioned here, and the fear that it arises from it is a physical hargosha, and that's why the Kohanim couldn't stay there. There also, in the beginning of Vayikra, it says, Lo nichnas az Moshe ba'olmeid ba'od koved sham. That means when they finished the malacha of the Mishkan, and the Shechina came into the Mishkan, Moshe couldn't go in. Similar here, Lo yachlu hakohanim la'amod l'sharetz. It's this process that sanctified the place. After that, Moshe went in every day to the Oel Moed, and he had Hashem speaking to him from the top of the Aron HaKodesh. Posuk Yud Beis. Az Amar Shlomo. Hashem Amar Lishkon Barafel. That he now sees the Shechina dwelling in the house that he built. This was promised, Hashem Amar, and now it happened. Because in Vayikra Tet Zayin, Posuk Beis, Ki be'anan Erael HaKaporis. Arafel is the same thing as Anan. The Chanukas of the base of Mikdash is occurring now through the vehicle of Gilu Shechina, the Shechina coming down. And that's what's meant when it says in Parshas Truma, Vasuli Mikdash v'shochanti b'socha. The after Shechina b'chol makom tomi. The Shechina is everywhere. B'chol makom rotza Kadosh Baruch Hu she'el makom b'tachtiyon shebo yira gilu Shechina. The revelation of Shechina, there should be a place where Klal Yisrael can come and see it, similar to the revelation of Matan Torah, and it should be all the time. But when you came to the Beis Hamikdash and you saw the fire coming down, and you saw that there was no fly, and there was no rotting of the meat, and all the various nisim, the 10 nisim that Pirkei Avos tells us, that's an aspect of Gilu Shechina. And we are zoichet to that when you have the Beis Hamikdash. And unfortunately, we're not zoichet to it when the Beis Hamikdash is b'churban. That's why we have a Tisha B'Av and a Chai Vochen. Eventually, right now, the Shechina comes down as a cloud, not fire. But in the future, when the Nevi'im say, Ki mo lo ha'aretz deyas Hashem, the world is going to be filled with the knowledge of God, then God's Shechina is going to appear as a great light. He shows up to us as a dark cloud, as a remez that our world is really a dark world. It's got so much gashmias as opposed to ruchnias. So these are all symbols to us. Let me have the previous page. Pasuk Yud Gimel. Bano baniti beit zvul lach. I built for you a beit zvul. See what that means? Machon l'shivtecha olamim. A presence forever. Zvul is a dira, is a dwelling place. Rav Schwab says something interesting. When Leah was having children, and she named her child, it said, Hapam Yizbeleni Ishi, Sha'achshav Yeh Diras Baili Imi. Leah wanted Yaakov to move in to her tent, as opposed to Rachel's tent. And so the word Zvul and Zvulun, because she wanted Zvulun as a method to entice Yaakov to live with her. That's the concept of Zvul. Now, this place where the Beis HaMikdash was built was destined to have this. This is the place that the Akedah took place. Like it says, Hashem Yera'eh, Bahar Hashem Yera'eh. David HaMelech saw fire come down to consume his oil. He said, this is the chosen place. That's why once the Beis HaMikdash is built, you can't offer korbanos in a bama anymore. In Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, it says that when Avram Avinu was taking Yitzchak to the Akedah, Shigi lo sumokom herer Kadosh Baruch Hu be'etzbel Avram v'amar lo zeu hamizbeach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kivyachol showed him with a finger. This is the mizbeach I want you to put him on. Hu hamizbeach shahaya Adam Harishon makriv bo mikedem. The same altar that Adam Harishon, when it says that he was makriv apart, Hu hamizbeach shekrivu bo Kain ve'Hevel. Kain ve'Hevel were also offering their various gifts on the same mizbeach. Hu hamizbeach shekrivu bo Noach ubana. Like when they came out of the Teva, it says Vayive Noach mizbeach l'Hashem. These is all the same mizbeach. Adam Harishon, Kain, Hevel, Noach, Avram. So this place has been holy from the beginning of creation. When it says Bano Baniti, a double language of Binyan, the Al-Sheikh says this is referencing the Beis HaMikdash Shel Malo, that not only is there Beis HaMikdash physically on the ground in Yerushalayim, there's a Beis HaMikdash in Shemayim too. That's the double Bano Baniti. I built this one and I built the upper one. The Gemara in Chagiga says it. Yud Beis, Amud Beis, Shaya Beis HaMikdash Shel Malo, Keneged Beis HaMikdash Shel Mato.
Ernie. Yeah, but that's mashma that the Gan Eden was in Yerushalayim, because if you say that all the mizbachot were there, so you have from Kain and Hevel, what they moved from Gan Eden all the way over there.
Yeah, remember they were thrown out of Gan Eden.
Yeah, so what they moved to Eretz Yisrael.
Maybe Gan Eden was closer than we thought.
Yeah.
By the way, if you look at the archaeology, the researchers of archaeology, they talk about the seed, like the first humans they find in Ethiopia, that region where they think maybe was and from there they did wander towards the Middle East. So
yeah, well, it makes because it says that Avram Avinu found the Petach to Gan Eden, the bottom of the Ma'ara. So that's what they say. That's the Petach to Gan Eden. So
So it could be the Gan, we don't know where we don't know where Gan Eden really is. So maybe it's closer to Eretz Yisrael. Pasuk Yudalit. Let me just see here, 1 second. Pasuk Yudalit. So Shlomo Melech was turned, his face was facing the Aram, west. Now, Vayaseva Melech et Panav, Vayivarch et Kol Kal Yisrael. The Kol Kal Yisrael Omeid. In this dedication of the Beis Hamikdash, Klal Yisrael came. So now Shlomo Melech turns to the Am and gives them a bracha. This bracha we lane on Shmini Atzeres, Vayivarch HaMelech. And it continues into Simchas Torah, but primarily on Shmini Atzeres. Now, here we learn a Yesod, says the Ralbag, that when you give somebody a blessing, it should be face to face. So that's why Shlomo turned and faced the Am. So you should face to face. And when it says V'chol Kahal Yisrael Omeid, we learn a halacha, Ein Yeshiva Bazara El Lamach Beis David Bilbad. You would not be able to sit when you came to visit the Beis Hamikdash. You had to stand. Only the kings from Malchus Beis David were allowed to sit. The other point we're being taught is all of this is by nace. The Beis Hamikdash is not such a big place, yet all of Klal Yisrael is gathered here.
Ernie, can I see something? When it comes to Birchat Kohanim, why are we not allowed to look at the Kohanim?
So they cover, if they have a mum, we don't want to focus. If they have something, they cover their hands and their face, because if they have some kind of blemish, we don't want to focus ourselves on that. It's one of the reasons why they cover. They raise their hands above their heads, just like we raise our hands to our face when we do Netilas Yadayim. They even raise their hands further. But we don't want to interrupt the kavanah of the Kohanim when they're giving us the bracha. So one of it was I wanted to say that Rav Schwab said, up until this time, Klal Yisrael was bowing down because there was Gilui Shechina. But now that the Melech turned, they stood up to give cover to the king. Now, we're going to go on with the next psukim. There's no bracha. So the Radak points out that there's going to be a bracha mentioned in Pasuk Nun Hey. And that's where the bracha is. Where it says that the Shlomo Melech turned and gave him a bracha, it's written later on. Some say that the bracha that Shlomo gave them now, he picked up, it was the same bracha that Moshe Rabbeinu gave after the Blechus HaMishkan, which was what? Yehi Ratzon Shetishre Shechina b'Maaseh Yadeichem. The Shechina that you all just saw here should settle on your hands, meaning the product of your hands, the things that you make. Like we say in Tehillim, V'hi Noam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, U'Maaseh Yadeinu Korna Aleinu, U'Maaseh Yadeinu Korneinu. These are one of the Tehillim that are said in the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. The Emes Liakov says, you know what bracha the king gave here? The regular bracha that all fathers give their sons. B'cha yivarech Yisrael lemor yisivcha lokim kefraim v'chin Hashem. So according to these last two pshatim, it wasn't a special bracha time. And that's why it's not written. Anything that's not important for generations is not written in this pasuk. So that's how they explain why the bracha was not mentioned. I think it's a good spot to stop. And we'll continue with the bracha and continue with this important dedication of the Beis Hamikdash that's discussed here in Perikhes. Any questions, comments, Ha'arot that anybody else would like to share with the group? I think some of Bernie and Temi, I think, are traveling,
Yeah.
and that Mitzvah Shem, they'll be back next Sunday.
So women were allowed in the Beis Hamikdash or not?
Women were allowed, but they built the Ezras Noshim. It says initially we were on the same floor, but then there was hanky panky. So they built the Takana Gdoila. It says they built a balcony. So the Ezras Noshim in the Beis Hamikdash was a balcony. They were like on the second floor.
Was that in both?
Like-
Beis Hamikdash? Both of them?
Well, that started in the first Beis Hamikdash, Lechoros, and the second one, obviously, they already built one.
Well, but the when Chazal give us all these informations, it's usually by Sheni. We assume that existed but by Rishon as well, though it's not said explicitly.
Could be Babai Rishon, there was no hanky panky, they were all Kadosh.
No, I only asked that because you said they give the bracha of Anasha, you cross your hands, that you give to your sons.
So
That's
you're
what,
saying, why didn't he say Kerachel Kesara Richva Rachel Kleya?
how do you know? Yeah.
It's a good question.
Gotta watch out when Este's listening. And,
It's a very good question. Maybe he gave both brachas. You have to assume that if the women were there, he would give them the brachas as well, appropriate to them. By the way, Walter and Esti they were at Yom Ha'atzmaut, the Hallel in the Museum of Tolerance in Yerushalayim. Walter and Esti, you remember that?
yes,
They didn't go, they had to. Well,
No, Walter went.
I was there, I was with Ernie.
Okay, so the Museum of Tolerance is not open, but they allowed us to use, they have like an amphitheater. It reminded me very much of the Beis Hamikdash. It had very high walls. We were surrounded by walls, and the women were up on the balcony. Do you remember the women were up high?
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Had a
Yeah.
whole side,
It-
one side.
No,
also.
that was there, but we didn't see that. We saw the women up above.
Right, but we had a whole side.
Anyways, it was a very, that reminded me of this. What Esther
By the
just-
way, when is the museum going to be officially open? Will it be open for Sukkot?
You have no
Don't know.
You don't know?
I
I hope so.
just saw Rabbi May. He also didn't give me it's not open yet. They're just they opened that
I
thing
just
was
did that,
open
but-
for the first time. Yeah.
Right.
So I think next week we can go back to 8:00 because Mincha, when I go to Mincha, it's at 7:30. We're usually done by 8. So I don't think we have to do it at 8:30 anymore. We could do it at 8:00.
But if you're done by.
On
8,
Sunday?
here, so maybe.
It's
do it-
5 to 8. If it's not 8, 8:05, something like that.
On Sunday.
Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Yeah, now that we're doing it on Sunday. Now, at some point, we can also go back to Motzei Shabbos. Once Shabbos ends earlier, we'll go back to Motzei Shabbos if that's what the crowd wants to do. But
Yeah.
for next Sunday, we'll do it at 8:00 instead of 8:30.
Very good.
Okay.
Have a
Okay.
good week, everybody.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
night.
Vern. Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Okay.